Welcome, everybody, to the Investors Podcast 2.0 Wealth Mindset, where we dive into the minds of the successful real estate entrepreneur to uncover the tips and tricks that have allowed them to keep moving forward. I am your host, Scott Bauer, and I'm excited that you're here with us. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Invest This Podcast. I am your host, Scott Bauer. Guess what? It is the 98th episode. That means that we are 2 away from the big old 3-digit 100. So you're not going to want to miss that. Make sure to check back in as a loyal listener. I know that you are or will. But today, got Eric Sage with us with Eric Buys Houses. He is here.
Eric Buys Homes. Eric Buys Homes.
Oh, I have to say that correctly. My bad. Eric Buys Homes. I've known Eric for a while. We've been, kind of in the same space for the last 5 years at a minimum. And he's doing some pretty cool things. So I'm excited to have him on the show. Eric, why don't you give the listeners a little bit more about your background?
I will. Before, I will tell you that I have a book called The $4.7 Trillion Secret, which has basically changed my life. So I want to tell you guys a lot of, to all your listeners, I'm going to give that away at the end.
Okay.
So I'll show you how we're going to do that. So anyway, Eric Sage, I've in Phoenix, Arizona. I've been buying and selling houses since 2004. I think I bought my first rental in 2002. Did it probably in my opinion, the wrong way. Just bought it from a realtor friend who had a listing. Another realtor friend had the house, brought me, and I paid retail and just kind of had a rental that I thought would be paid off in 30 years and life would be great. And then, obviously there were some changes in the market. So, yeah. So my personal background is my dream in life since I was probably 13 or 14 years old was to be a professional golfer. And so I played every sport growing up. I was very active. I played all the sports, football, basketball, baseball. And then golf was kind of the side thing. I grew up in Yuma, Arizona, which is a little small town, farm town, military town between Phoenix and San Diego. And so in the summers, my parents worked full time. My dad was a mortician, and my mom sold copy machines for 35 years. And so they dropped me off at the club, and I played golf and swam and did my thing. And I took a passion to it. I became very good. I was one of the top players in the state of Arizona at the time. Then I went and played college golf at the University of Arizona, and my dream was to be a pro golfer. So that's what I did. I was very fortunate to be able to raise some money and play kind of the farm leagues, mini tours of the PGA Tour, a mini PGA Tour. I never got the tour, made it to the tour. I've been studying now why I didn't make it, and so I'm very blessed to have some kids that I'm mentoring right now. Just on a side note, nothing to do with real estate, and I freaking love it. And so anyway, I took that passion and turned it into, I got a corporate job with corporate America. I had my very first job out of college after golf. My golf career was selling elevators. So I was an elevator salesman here in Phoenix, Arizona. I made some really good money. I had no idea. I actually looked back at it recently. I was like, I had no idea how an elevator even worked, but I could sell the crap out of it. I could sell the process and the systems and stuff to either the property managers or the builders. And then in the meantime, I always had a side hustle, right? I was either had a rental property or I had an ATM business. I own ATMs. And so I screwed around with that a little bit. And then I own
ATMs?
What's that?
You still own them? I mean,
no, I sold them. But I have my family owns them. So I'm still in the business, sort of, right? So anyway, what a great cash flow model, by the way. But anyway, that's side deal. So then I got kind of burnt out of the elevator stuff and got into the medical distribution business. And my main deal was calling on retirement homes. And I sold diapers. That was our number one sale, was diapers, ointments, lotions, and wipes, because obviously the elderly need it and they're incontinent and whatever. So that was my number one deal. So I went from elevator salesman to diaper salesman to in the same time when I got that job with elevators or with selling diapers, I started door knocking pre-foreclosures. And one of my best buddies that I traveled with playing golf, he told me, he goes, "Hey man, we've got this list, right? You know, this is 2004 or 5, right? I think it was 2004. like the internet was there. It wasn't like it is now. We can't go to like batch skip tracing or some of these skip and get it all given to you. We actually had to figure it out. So like I got this random list and started door knocking at nights and on the weekends from 10 to 2 pre-foreclosures. And I technically didn't even know what a pre-foreclosure was. I didn't know what default was, none of that, and got very blessed and found somebody that needed my help. I found another friend of mine who was a realtor. I said, hey, I have this, I door knocked this house, and my very first deal, and I door knocked. Have I told you this story?
No.
You know? Okay.
So.
It's a good one. So I door knock, I go and door knock this house in Chandler, Arizona, and the door opens up, and it was a Friday afternoon, and this humongous, so picture like the largest lineman in the NFL. Okay. Picture that when the door opens. And so that's basically what I saw. I'm like, oh my God. I said, hey, sir, my name's Eric. I noticed your house is in foreclosure, you know, which is, the scripts have changed a lot since then, but, and I'm here to help you. And is there anything I can do to help? And he's like, no, man, I got to take care of, don't worry about it. And he slams the door in my face. I'm like, which is pretty standard on a door knock, right? So I go back to my car, and now keep in mind, I got a full-time job making really good money selling diapers. And I go back and I have no card, and I rip a piece of paper off, and I write my name, Eric Sage, put my phone number on it. And I go back and I said, hey man, here's my name and phone number. If something changes, let me know. Okay. Now the home is supposed to go to auction on that following Tuesday because it was a 3-day weekend. Okay. And sure enough, I leave, I come, and I leave, I get a phone call that night, and it's his wife, and their last name's Wilson. That's all I'll say. But the long story short, he was a professional football player who had some problems. And so the phone rings, and she tells me what's going on, and they had filed bankruptcy, and the bankruptcy got discharged. And as soon as it's discharged, boom, they can go right into foreclosure without any notice, because they haven't been making their payments for 18 months or so, right? So she goes, yeah, it's actually going to go to foreclosure on Tuesday, and we don't have the $58,000 or $52,000. I think it was $52,000 to pay it. And yes, we need your help, because we're last resort, right? They've hit rock bottom at this point, which is how you and I are in real estate, helping people solve problems. So right. I call one of my best buddies who'd sold me the rental property. I said, hey man, I've got this, he's a realtor. I said, hey, I got this house that's in foreclosure. It's going to auction on Tuesday. Can you help me? And he's like, dude, I don't know. I don't know how to stop a foreclosure in 3 days. He goes, but your buddy Marty might. We know he's in business. Now, this goes back to like all this manifestation and meditation and all the crazy stuff that I'm into right now on why everything happens for a reason, right? So I just golfed with him in a golf tournament, because he's from Yuma too, where I grew up, and we knew he was doing well, and he was in real estate, and he's no longer a cameraman, and he's a full-time real estate investor, and he's in his early 30s, and he's making all this money. And so, but no one really knew what he did, right? No one really understood it. And so I call him up. I'm like, hey man, I just door knocked this house. It's in Warner Ranch in Chandler and blah, blah, blah. Actually, I think it might be Tempe, but anyways, it's right on the border. So long story short, Marty goes, dude, by the way, what's that?
I love that neighborhood. I'm actually looking for a house there right now.
In Warner Ranch?
Warner Ranch, yeah. That whole, anyway, sorry.
I might have one for you. Anyway, so he goes, dude, how did you talk to these people? I've been door knocking them for 1.5 years. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah. He goes, how'd you get an appointment? I'm like, that's what I do. So he goes, I already had set, now keep in mind, I hadn't spoken to him about this deal, and I'd already set an appointment to meet with him face to face that Saturday morning.
Oh, shit.
So I'd called him. He goes, dude, I go, hey, we got a meeting on Saturday morning at this time. And he goes, fantastic. So anyway, we go there, and he goes through his whole spiel, right? Like, how he does it. And I didn't know how to reinstate a mortgage. I didn't know how to stop the foreclosure. I didn't know any of that. Right. So we sit down, we go through it, we get all the paperwork, we get the reinstatements. Monday morning, his wife goes into labor and has his second daughter. Oh, wow. And we're about ready to get this house out of foreclosure that following Tuesday morning. So he goes, dude, I'm going into labor. We're going to get this figured out. Blah, blah, blah. He's a stud, by the way. And he's still doing it. He's still a great real estate investor. But So we stopped the foreclosure. We reinstated it. We kept him in the house. We leased it back to him for, I think it was a year and a half. He gave me my first assignment fee, which I didn't even know it was an assignment fee at the time. It was like $4,500. He's like, this is fantastic. Now keep in mind, this house in 2004, the reinstatement was $52,000. It was worth $450, and we bought it for $250, including the reinstatement. It was phenomenal. And then we gave him an option to buy it back and all the stuff that we would never do in today's market. But we reinstated, took over their payments, made the payments, leased it back to them, did a deal, right? So several months ago, I'm in the area and I drive by that house, and guess who's still in that home? That family. Yes. We saved their house. They're still there. I mean, what year? That's 16 years ago. It was awesome. Anyway.
That impact that you've had on that family, dude, that's so it's phenomenal for them, right? Because you looked into their life, you solved that problem for them, you got paid on it, you got paid handsomely on it, and they're still there.
I get chills every time. So I took a video of myself the other day. I should post it on my Instagram or whatever, because it's just life-changing, right?
Yeah.
So the best part is we did the right things. So long story, now that we've saved them, they're still there. Everything's great, right? So I literally worked for him so he was my mentor, right? But I brought him so much value, and then he's like, here, this is how you do it. And then we would go to a meeting, and then he went from his Honda Accord to his C-Class Mercedes to his AMG. And I'm like, dude, you can't come with me that car. It's like, that's not what I do. I want to just be, this is what we do. So I was literally door knocking for a year for him with my full-time job, right? Selling diapers and calling on assisted living homes. I was their distribution channel for diapers. So anyway,
like you say that, but I can see where that could actually turn into a lot, in the real estate space. I mean, you're talking with these, this is kind of another side conversation, but assisted living homes, like you already have connections there. You probably have people you can call. You could transition that into buying those assisted living homes. I mean, anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there again.
Yeah. No, I mean, we can go off tangent. So what I did is I door knocked, I did my thing. I had my side hustle. I made more money on my side hustle than my real job.
Yep.
Keep in mind, I was in the elevator business, and I saved my 10 or 12% every month. So I raised I had saved a bunch of capital, or I'd saved a bunch of money in my 401k. So I had cash, I had savings, and I did this thing. And then I went out on my own, and my wife was my business partner at the time. So we were just talking about today. I go, do you know you haven't worked for anyone in almost 16 years? Like you've never worked for anybody but yourself, we were business partners, right? So, and she's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. I go, yeah, I mean, think about what you get to do you get to get up and you get to make breakfast for the kids. Yesterday she had to go and my daughter has been sick for like a month, and we're like, what the heck's going on? It's just this crud that's going around, but she got to go and pick her up at school. What's that?
The coronavirus.
Yeah. God, I hope not. So anyway, so she like got to go and we get to go and pick them up at school at 2:00 to go take them to doctors and go to their 5:00 basketball games and all the stuff that we all talk about. But that real estate has been able to do that for us. So that's what I did. So I was a pre-foreclosure door knocker with some random freaking list. Now clearly I systemized it and was different than what we do now, but it's really not. Think about where we're at today. We're cycling back into this other opportunity that I got to be involved in, right? So then I did that for years. I left my partner in that deal, my mentor. He paid me a bunch of money. I left a little bit of money on the table with him. I said, man, I got my own money. I know the systems. I'm going to do it myself. He's like, high five. Let's do it, man. That's great. So I went and I learned how to do self-directed IRAs. That's how I raised a bunch of capital to buy these houses. So that was a huge part of it, which goes back towards that $4.7 trillion secret that I want to give away. But so then I did that. So then what happened? We're door knocking all these equity deals, right?
Okay.
And guess what happened in 2006-07? There were no more equity deals for us to door knock. And we're like, Jesus, what's going to happen with all these people? They owe more than their houses are worth. That's when we started a short sale. We started a loss mitigation business. We started charging people to help them get out of their issues. Then you couldn't charge people anymore. So then we started a short sale business, which obviously it kind of funneled into that. And we started a short sale company. So it's amazing. Like when the market was flat, then it went crazy spike, then it crashed. When it crashed, we made more money than we made when the market went up, you know, because we actually earned it, right? We earned negotiating better deals. We earned helping people get out of their problems. But and you know, we saved hundreds of people from losing, from having judgments and liabilities from the market crash, right? And so, but I think we had about 70 mortgages that we took over at one time, and the biggest problem from when the market crashed was that variable interest rate, right? So where are we at today? What did Warren Buffett say? If you can go get fixed money at 5% or better, go buy as many houses as you possibly can. Change your life, right? And so that was probably, that was like 9, 10, 11, something like that. I want to find it online because it made a big impact to me. I know where I was when he said it. I was driving down my street where I currently live right now when he said that. And then all of a sudden, all the hedge funds and all these guys are going out and buying these rental properties. But so then from there, I know I'm rambling a little bit, but then we learned how to make money in the crash. We learned how to make money. So when it crashed and it got to the somewhat bottom, we started just buying up all the short sales we could. So we held those and kept them as rentals. And then the market started spiking again. So we sold those to take some money off the table because we got kind of beat up when the market crashed. And then we started a wholesale business, fix and flip business, and now we're doing it all. I mean, we're doing lending, we're doing wholesaling, we're doing the subject to the seller finance, and we're at a dream time in our lives if we know how to find discounted properties. But not only that, we know how to find properties with great debt. That's the key to this business right now. And I was telling my daughter this morning, so I had to read it to me. I'm like, hey, what is this? You know? So I pull up my phone, you know, I'm like, hey, what's this? And she reads it. It was like $1,647.28. She goes, you know how we got that? That was a receipt from the servicer that sent me the mortgage payment that's owed to us for a house that we sold to someone who couldn't get a conventional mortgage, that is living in this house that they owe us $200,000 that's worth $250,000. And they have a great place for their family to live in this home that we sold them 2 years ago. And I honestly have never been there in 2 years. I have no idea. All I know is I get that payment sent to us between the first and the whatever today. Well, it's a little bit late today. I think it was late just because of the servicer. But my point is, shit, it might even be early. Anyway, the point is it's just like an amazing blessing that we're able to be in this business. And now, you know, I'm on this podcast with you sharing, you know, our story. Pretty cool.
You know, man, it is very, very cool. And what I like about the story so far is that you've had to mentally make a transition several times in the last, so 2004, it's not 2020. That would mean that was 16 years ago when you got into this business. So over 16 years, you've had to mentally shift yourself several different times to accommodate the market and the conditions of the marketplace in order to make money. You've successfully done that. Now, this is a huge piece of what this side of the podcast is, because 2.0 is all about the wealth mindset. It's about the mindset that you have as a real estate investor and how you're able to evolve over time and how you're able to evolve according to what the market is giving you. So, you know, people ask, you know, you hear it all the time. It's like, is the market good? Is the market bad? Well, the market is however you want to define it, because the market condition that it is presently, you can make money in every single market condition out there, right? It's learning how to be strategic in what it is that you're doing, and that's going to lead us, you know, later on here in the call to the creative finance and how much of an importance that is in today's marketplace, and what that means, and what you're doing, and how you're doing it, and all of the above. So I really like that. I think that the listeners would agree with me that you've been able to be strategic throughout these last 16 years. But I guess that leads us to kind of where we're at next, which is, I mean, where do you mentioned that you're seeing similarities to the past with regards to the market. What do you mean by that?
Well, so the past, we had mortgages. I personally was involved with that too, because, you know, there was a day where we were making really good money. I'd go to Wells Fargo and they'd be like, hey, Mr. Sage, and say, how are you today? Yeah, great. Hey, do you want a $250,000 line of credit at 4% interest? Sure. I mean, why not? You mean I don't have to pay for it unless I use it, right? Yeah. Okay. Was happening like a lot, right? So we had all this credit. And so we started getting rid of a lot of our hard money loans, right, that we helped create, which we'll talk about our obligation as investors to help people make the best return, and I wouldn't say safe, but pretty damn good risk of what we do behind investors like us that know what the heck we're doing. But those variable, there were variable interest rates. They started out at 4. Dad, pick a payments. You're like, oh, here's a $700,000 loan. Pick 700 a month. We don't care. And then that's what people did, right? I mean, it was basically a lottery. And what happens to most lottery winners? They go broke, and that's what happened. So the market has changed to the point now where a traditional loan, now it's going to change again, probably, but they're fixed, right? So from 2010-ish, all we're seeing is fixed mortgages, anywhere from 3 to 4%, 2.75 to 4%, 30-year fixed mortgages. So going back to the Warren Buffett thing, right? If you get fixed debt, what do you do, right? So what we do now is we look for that debt. We look for people that either are upside down or they need income from that debt, that asset that they have. It's in their name, right? They have this 3 or 4% loan. So a perfect profile for me, I'll give you an example of a deal I did just this week. I'm closing the B2C side, the second leg of it, is I took over a payment from a seller who's going into a retirement home, right? So let's go back to my diaper days, right? Well, that's where he's going there. And he refinanced. He's got solar, the whole thing. He owes too much, okay? He owes more than he could put in money in his pocket. So I actually looked at his debt. I'm like, God, 3.75, it's a few years old. Your payment's $890 a month. I can go sell this to someone that can't get a traditional mortgage, right? Maybe they're from a different country, or they have they're self-employed, or whatever the circumstances is, they're not going to get a conventional loan, okay? So I went and resold that house at retail, right? I bought it wholesale, but it was wholesale enough to where I was able to still give him some cash. I renovated the home a little bit, and now I sold it retail with a down payment, and it's not crazy. I think our interest rate, we're selling it at 7.5%. It's nothing crazy. But that loan, I'm in an arbitrage, right? My payments, let's say $900. I'm selling it for, I think it's gonna be $1,700 a month, right? The best part about this deal that makes me so happy is I got to give the seller, he used his credit, right? His credit is tied up on this deal. People always say, well, gosh, I don't want to leave my credit tied up on this deal. Well, you're behind me, number one, and I'm making some money, and I'm going to give you, for that credit, $150 a month perpetually forever. Some investors would never do that. I personally think I have an obligation to give him that extra income, and it's not always 150. It could be 50. It could be pay for a cell phone bill forever, right? So I'm giving him some cash flow. He got some cash. He gets to go into the retirement home, not worry about it, and then we're able to take his asset and give him some income, and then provide a home for somebody that traditionally would not be able to own a home, right? And so in our market in Phoenix and all over the country, there's all these investors that owned all these rental properties at the bottom. And what they're doing is now they're selling them, and now they're displacing all the people that sat there and wait for all this equity to go up. And I'm included. I own some rentals that have gone nutso in appreciation. But now I want to provide those renters and people that have lived in that have some cash to save some money and give me $15,000, $20,000 down, and they have the opportunity to own that home. So I'm providing a value to my seller. He's getting some income. Yeah. We're making some cash flow. We were revitalized this neighborhood, and now we have, instead of a rental house, it's an owned house. Like if you drive by these houses I've sold on seller financing, they've added 20, 30, they've added 10%, 20% to the value of the home because they're the owner, they're not the tenant. So we're providing this full solution. And the best part is I can go to Europe for 3 weeks and never even worry about knowing that my mortgages are being paid, because they're the owner. They treat your homes completely different. And so we go through this like deal where a lot of people are like, well, you're losing the appreciation. Am I really? And how about the depreciation? Am I really? Okay. Well, take this, what is it? You have taxes, insurance, maintenance, vacancy, repairs, all that stuff that if you add that all together, your true return of doing nothing but collecting a mortgage is so huge. And so the other tip, and you and I are in, we're in a note mastermind together. The first right of refusal changes everything, because now I'm putting first right of refusals to buy the house back. I'm even throwing in there that I can meet or beat their refinancing, which that's kind of a question one way or the other. If I get first right of refusal, whatever, but it always keeps me in this deal forever,
And if they want to
or
get
at least have the option, right? So Phoenix is a white hot market. There's lots of guys teaching how to do this and stuff, which is great because we need that. We want creative investors to do creative things to provide value. Because, for example, that $150, I mean, that could help him with his supplemental health insurance. Maybe he's just on a VA, retirement. He doesn't have any money. I mean, we look at, we're real estate investors. We're supposed to be making all this billions of dollars driving around Rolls Royces and whatever, which is totally fine. But the couple $100 a month of cash flow that you can provide that seller for his credit, like it's life changing. And can I tell you another deal that I did that's similar to this, or we?
Yeah, man. I mean, really, and real quick, what I want to comment on, in fact, there's a trifecta that you have going on there, right?
Yeah.
Trifecta win-win scenario between everybody, because the seller wins, providing some additional cash flow for them every single month for life or however long. You're the buyer who you're selling or selling the property to now went from being a tenant to being an owner, right? So they're happy, and you're happy because you're in the middle. You're in the middle.
Right.
And they've helped you in your life and for your family as well. So this is the win. This, and really, we can talk about the recession-proof nature of this in a sense, but maybe we're not there yet. So keep going to the story. I love that. I think the listeners, everybody that's listening, will also agree that what you're doing is powerful.
Yeah. So, I mean, and then a lot of people ask, well, how do you find your buyer? Well, I network with a lot of real estate agents that have that. I have some different marketing tools that I'm doing, bandit signs, whatever. But the reality is I have some good realtors that have buyers that can't get loans. Yep. And so whenever I get a property, I send it over to them, and they pretty much do all the work for me. And then I just work with title to put the documents together. We do an origination for all these loans. So I originate these through a licensed mortgage originator. It's Rusty Underwriter. He's amazing, by the way. If you guys ever start doing this, you have to do it because it protects you. Because he did he's been working on this thing for a week and a half trying to document that this buyer truly has the ability to pay. And once you have that signed and stamped off, and they default or whatever happens, and they're like, hey, you lent me money and knew I couldn't pay. Well, we documented that, and so we should be covered there. But the reality is, if there's a problem with these loans, okay, it's either short-term or long-term. I mean, I have one of my borrowers, the guy's a construction worker, and he's trailer flipped. He almost lost his leg, okay? That was going to go long-term probably, but it didn't. He recovered. And he's back to work. So we did a modification. He contacted me and says, hey, Eric, what do we need to do? And I said, okay, let's do this, and this. Boom. Fixed it. Short-term deal. It was a 6-month deal. We modified it. And then I had a long-term deal where one of the borrower's family members that was living with him went to jail. That was a long-term deal. They're never coming back. So I helped her. I gave her some cash for keys, and I helped her find another affordable house based off her financial situation. So I didn't have to foreclose. I didn't have to do any of that. Because it's what we do, right? What do we specialize in? Distressed situations, right? So and that's what I love about where I'm at now, right? Is I'm buying notes, large pools of notes. I just bought 69 houses 2 weeks ago in 23 different states. People would freak out about that, right? But with technology, before me finding some random pre-foreclosure list off the internet to 2020, like, you could give me a house anywhere in America, and I promise you I could solve that. I could fix the problem based off what I paid. And if I overpaid, I might, there's so many scenarios about it, but that's what I'm excited about now. I love doing the one-offs. I love buying in big, massive pools. There's the big, massive note pool buying world right now is in I think they're in a recapitalization scenario where they bought all these at the bottom at like nothing. They created financing or contract for deeds or all those deals. And then, and now they have to pay back their investors, right? And so now they're recapitalizing. Well, that's where we come in. We can come in and buy these out, keep the homeowners in there. Cause I'm 47 years old. Okay. Cash flow is so important to me. When I wake up, I've been, and rewind a little bit. I went from solopreneur, massive short sell office with people everywhere running around friggin' trying to solve these people's problems, to short sell business kind of slowed down, to going back down to just a very small office, to building my wholesale business up where I had anywhere from 10 different realtors out working for me, finding me deals, to now I'm almost more like a solopreneur again. And I love it because I mean, there is some accountability that I miss because I like having people around me. But now my goal every day is I want to work with people I love to be around. Like you and I talk, we just get a different, there's energy there, right? So
Right.
for me, rather than working with, you know, a bunch of employees, you know, I'm kind of having a combination of things right now. I'm going down to, that's what I love about notes, because one servicing company could handle 2,000 or 3,000 notes,
Yeah.
and I can have somebody that works for me right here, just helping me make sure that they're on track. And then I don't need a property manager. I don't need repair guys working for me. I don't need contractors. I don't need any of that. And so I have a certain goal that I'm doing this year, which luckily I hit almost my entire goal in February, because I bought, you know, the 69 notes, but you know, I'll probably now double, triple that at this point. But, you know, so that's kind of where I'm at now. I just, you know, my goals, I have some personal stuff. I mean, I meditate a lot. Like, it's like, so like the manifestation and, you know, and taking action, right, on this stuff is so important. So I'm really geeking out on that stuff right now, and being really focused on my vision and what I'm doing, and then working with amazing people, right? Like Pace Morby and Jameel and all those guys in our local market, and Brett Daniels and you, like the collaboration and energy that we get from each other. You know, it's not competition. And so that's kind of what 2020 is all about.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the fact that there is such an abundance out there. And if you want to, you know, I'm happy to hear that you're talking about meditation. Have you heard of, do you know who Dr. Joe Dispenza is? He
Yep.
wrote a book called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I'm actually going through that book right now. He has a couple other books that are really, really good. And meditation in general is a whole nother conversation. We could go down that rabbit hole for sure. The importance of it and the impact of it on somebody's life is life-changing for sure.
Yeah. Well, they talk about, you know, and I honestly never seen or read The Secret, right? I just never did. I need to. But the reality is, you know, my day is kind of simple. Like, I get up about between 5 and 5:30, and I literally, yeah, I'm most of the time I meditate in bed, but the one thing I do is I always ask, the first thing is, what am I grateful for, right? What's the gratitude? Because it's amazing, like, how bad shit can get, right? But there's a lot of amazing things. When you start writing it down, you're like, holy crap, man, that was pretty cool. So then I always do that. I always ask, you know, what am I grateful for today? And it could be the little things or the big things, right? And then I always pray for the people in my life, and people that I don't even know yet, right? That might come into my life, right? And then I ask for massive abundance, right? A massive abundance. If it's a massive amount of money, a massive amount of people that are going to come into my life today. And I've been doing this now for 2 years. It's amazing the energy you get. And then the one thing I'm doing now that I know we're going on a complete tangent on like just personal development, but I've been writing down like all my wins every night before I go to bed. And it's amazing how many wins you really have in life that you don't really think about. It's unreal, right? Like, you know, you're like, oh my God, I really didn't have any wins. And all of a sudden you're a page full of wins. You're like, wow, I got my daughter got to ask me about, you know, what it is, just amazing things. And so that's what's really geeking me out right now on just the wins I do every night before I go to bed, and then obviously plan my day. And then I write down my goals every morning. So I have this like little ritual. And then and then I work out. I spin a lot, and I have one of those Pelotons, and I don't know. That's kind of my thing.
I mean, you know, the daily routine that I mean, any successful person out there, whether they're successful in business or just in life or whatever, they have a routine like that they follow. I've studied a lot of very highly successful entrepreneurs and people that have done a lot of great things throughout history. And you always see that they have a ritual. They have their daily routine of something that they do constantly. And every single one of them has gratitude in their life somewhere. If you're not grateful, you're gonna have a lot of you're not gonna have anything. You got to be grateful for the good things and the bad things, right? So you're right.
Well, the bad things that happen to you sometimes are what you're grateful for today,
right,
because you learned something amazing, right?
Right.
We're alive.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Sometimes the bad things gotta keep you in check to make sure that you know that you're alive, right? I mean, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That is a tangent, and I would love to talk about this. Maybe we should come on for another show to talk
Yeah.
specifically about that. But what I
Yeah.
want to talk about now is, I mean, we kind of talked about the shift in the market. We started talking about kind of the importance of creative finance. How much is that? 100% of what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I've slowed down my wholesale business. I mean,
Yep.
I am marketing, but a little bit different ways. I'm now marketing for larger pools of assets around the country. That's my main thing, through brokers and different networking things. But back to the creative financing. So simplify this, because I know you have a lot of people on this call, or that listen to your podcast, that are like beginners, right? And so what here's the thing, like the if you can't take over a house subject to, right? Where else are you going to get the money, right? So right now, 2020, there's hedge funds out there that are dying to give us money. We're back, but guess what they're doing? They're doing the fixed rates. So I mean, I just looked at a hedge fund. They brought me I submitted a property that I'm fixing flipping right now, and they're offering me like 5.45. Okay, like literally, it's an asset-based loan. Now there's some prepayment penalties, but I know what I'm going to do with this asset. I already know that I'm either going to lease purchase it or do my own seller finance with that debt, right? That's my goal. But let's just take them out of the equation, because they're going to start coming up. But it's a huge opportunity, because all these other hard money lenders that are sitting on 30, 40, 50, 60 million dollars, how are they going to get into the market? And so there's two types of private money lenders that I like to talk to. One is the people that have more than they can handle, and they just need to get their money out in a safe position behind an operator, right? Like by me, that pays them back, right? Which I've always done, no matter what's happened in the market. I've always taken care of my private lenders. Okay. Yeah. Second is, there's people out there that are, 50, 60, 70 years old, that might have $250,000 left in there. And I'm using this as a real story, in their retirement account. Okay. Like for 250, and I'm 65 years old, and I'll outlive my money for sure and be on Social Security. Okay. So you take that client and you go, okay, let's look at your financial situation. Okay. So now they might have a $350 supplemental insurance. So take that 250,000, divide it by 4, 5, 6%, right? We can crush it at 4, 5, 6% money, right? But we're providing them an income that's going to help them not outlive their money. So that's where I go back to, we have an obligation as successful real estate investors and people that we network with, is that we want to put them, because the stock market's going to change. And not everybody's going to buy a Tesla stock that freaking quintuples in, a year. That's not reality, by the way. Right. But home ownership is, roof over our heads are, basically, people need a place to live. Okay. It's a necessity. We have to do that. So if we can provide home ownership, we can provide private investors to get income. We can make some money, and then we can provide home ownership for somebody else, okay, and structure it the right way and do ethical things. Like that's where this market, that's where 2020 is for me, is how can I structure deals and I like working with, I love banks, they're great, but I really love working with that private investor they need me. I'm their financial advisor for the most part, providing them income on an asset that it's not risk-free, but it's a lower risk scenario, right?
It's pretty safe, right? Exactly. I mean, it's a house. It's somewhere it's tangible. They can go see it, feel it, touch it, right? There's somebody that live there. So you're right. It's not 100% safe, but it's pretty safe for the most part.
Yeah, we're in a really good place. I mean, the inventory's low. We're gonna see a correction, but wouldn't you want to be in a place where you can provide a roof over people's heads, where they can have a safe place to live, and we're that conduit to put that deal together? I mean, that's what gets me excited. That's what gets me up every morning, is how can I help provide that solution for everyone involved?
It's probably one of the coolest things that I've come to learn. It's a different mindset that you have to have from the standard just wholesale or fix and flip operation. It's a different way that you have to look at a deal. It's a different way you have to think too. Mindset wise, it's not a transactional business in the same sense when you're going into creative finance. It's not the same type of scenario. It's much better, actually. So
it's fantastic, because I mean, a lot of these cash flow deals, I mean, we're making $400, $500, $600, $700 a month. Okay. So I was at a meeting the other day, and the gal in our group, she's super smart. She's like, "Hey, Eric, how can you help me make $7,000 a month in that business?" I'm like, well, this deal is bringing, not only is the seller making cash flow, I'm going to make $600 a month net, not including the amortization that I'm getting.
Right.
So how many of those do you need? 11? 12?
Yeah, 11. Right.
There's how many wholesale deals are these people doing a month? They're doing 20, 30 transactions. Take a few of those, one or two, take one a month. Okay. That's $7,000 a month. One a month for 12 months. Now you wake up and you're like, okay, well, Monday morning, I don't have to look at my KPIs. I mean, not that you would never stop doing wholesale. Let's be honest, because we're really good at it. And there's always going to be death, divorce, and disease and problems out there that we can solve. But if you don't want to, and you got that cash flow coming in, it gives you options, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for somebody, it could be 2 deals. It could be 1 deal. It could be a JV on a deal that you don't even have to touch anymore, but you brought it to somebody. You want to make some of that cash flow to pay your car payment or something. That's what I love about all this fixed debt that's out there, and structure it properly to protect even the underlying bank, protect the seller, protect all of it. We're going to have problems. We're going to have corrections. We're going to have issues, but just we're in the right frame of mind and goals to take care of everyone involved. We should be fine, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And, I can see your excitement. I think the listeners can hear it in your voice. I can tell that you're excited about this. And, the knowledge that over the last 16 years that you've been able to accumulate have got you to this point. So the listeners out there that maybe feel a little bit overwhelmed, maybe you've been in the business for, 5-10 years. You've been only wholesaling, only fix and flipping, only, doing something else. And maybe what Eric is saying is a little bit overwhelming. I promise you, you can learn it. Everybody can learn it. It's something that you have to look at things a little bit differently, but the experience that you've built up to this point has got you to this point, right? If you would have tried to, if you're new, if a listener is listening to this and they're newer in the business and this is just totally over your head, that's okay. But it can be learned, right? Everybody can learn this. And it's such an important thing that I think people should learn. It does. You can create the trifecta win-win scenario that I was talking about earlier that Eric is putting in place, and
Right.
And you get to live the best life ever.
We're making wholesale fees now. I have I have money, right? So there's deals where I may have a little more cash in the deal than I typically normally would on a wholesale deal, but most of these deals you can get cash up front and long-term cash flow. That is the trifecta, right? I mean,
right.
You're getting money on the front end, okay? Money during the deal, okay, during the cash flow, and then God forbid the thing refinances or pays off, you get another bonus because you bought it at a discount. So it's a triple play, and so what I'm telling a lot of our sellers is, and especially if you're taking over payments, and we just went over that deal with you, the 2.5%, the 6.5% deal. That's so awesome, by the way. But anyway, my point is do you want to give your estate a big chunk of cash, or do you want to give your estate income so they can't hurt themselves from themselves? Right.
Long-term income. Do you want that big chunk of money so you're paying taxes, a big chunk of tax today, so you're not even getting all that money? Or do you want to spread it out over time and you get that constant flow? Do you like cash flow? Because we all love cash flow. Everybody listening to this podcast loves cash flow. Cash flow is king, right? Cash flow,
especially real estate cash flow. When you get a note payment in, and I know where they come from. My wife's like, "Oh, what's that from?" I'm like, "That's a mortgage you created 3 or 4 years ago, and it's been coming in for the last 36 months. It's fantastic, right?"
Yeah,
it's great.
It is. Well, Eric, I've loved having you on here today. Just for sake of time, I want to jump into a quick lightning round. Ask you a couple of questions. You ready for a lightning round?
Sure.
Let's do it. All right. So, as far as I talked about how you got to think a little bit differently to be in the creative finance side of real estate. How important do you feel that your mindset is to the success that you have in this business?
Oh, well, first of all, I try to keep my mind fresh and I try to model greatness, right? I'm a modeler, right? I'm not an engineer. I'm a modeler. I love, I'm not going to geek out on spreadsheets. I'll fall asleep. So I have to hire someone to actually do that for me, but I do understand it and I'm really good at it, but it's not my main thing. Obviously I love talking to people. You can tell, I love helping people, but, my main thing is I just try to get myself around the best in what I'm doing. And then I model them, and then I teach it, so I get better at it, right? So one of the things I'm doing right now, you and I haven't even talked about this, but I have this, all these online courses are off the charts amazing, right? But how many online courses did you buy and not get through them, right?
Yeah, right.
A lot, right? So now there's this accountability piece, and so that's what I'm working on personally. Like, I have to have some accountability on where I'm going, because I have certain goals that I want to do, and it's not just financial. It's there's personal stuff. So I don't know if did I answer the question? I think I went
Well,
on a
just, I
tangent
mean,
there.
how important you feel the mindset is. It's something that I think, kind of a broad question, but, how, because the mechanics are out there. If you want to learn how to do any of this, jump on YouTube, type in how you want to do it, and you can find 5 million videos of how to do it. But, you can give somebody the directions to do whatever as much as you want, but if it doesn't mean they're going to go do it, right? They have to think a little bit differently. Their mindset on being committed to whatever it is that they're going to learn, that, that has to be there.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So I clearly like to talk to people, right? That's my thing. But there's not everybody. This is the greatest thing about real estate, right? So my wife is she loves to be in front of people. You've met her. She's amazing. Like, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be where we're at today, for sure, in our business. But she's the rainmaker, right? She's going to go set up podiums. She's going to go make sure the marketing comes in. She's going to make sure that I have people to talk to so we can do deals, right? She's going to do that. So in this business, in the real estate side, take a test. Tony Robbins has a DISC test. And you have other personality tests. Find out who you are as a person. And I think it's so important right now, even for our kids, as athletes, as kids, you learn differently, right? So I know who I am now, and now I know who needs to be around me to make the thing work, right? So you could be a total introvert, own a massive company, and put a bunch of people like me and all these other people around you, and you could crush it. And so that's I guess, in regards to mindset, find out who you are. Go to Tony Robbins and Google DISC and take it, so you know who you are as a person.
I feel like maybe just because my awareness has has become very aware of this fact, but it seems like it's becoming more common today that the awareness of yourself and self-reflection is the most important piece, and that's where you must start always. Until you understand yourself, you'll never understand the outside world. Until you understand how you think, and this goes back to the meditation, meditating, you learn how to watch your own thoughts. You learn how to watch what's going on in your own brain and understand that they're just thoughts. And so you learn to understand about who you are, why you think the way that you think, and it's empowering. And so
well, let me say, let me give you an example of golf, okay? And how you can self-sabotage yourself in golf as well as life, right? So I'm geeking out on this stuff, so I'm really studying it more. Like, I used to do it, but when you set up to hit a golf shot, you have a target, right?
Yep.
In your mind, you know exactly where you're supposed to hit it for the most part, right? Higher levels will have a little smaller target, but I always look at aim small, miss small, right? That's kind of my thing. It works in life too. But you get up over that shot and you're like, oh my God, there's water right, there's OB left, out of bounds. I don't know if anybody's a golfer here. I hope I don't do that. And then boom, you make a mistake because you just totally self-sabotage yourself. But that happens in business every day. You always, like you said, YouTube has the answers to everything. It's how you find your team, right? It's called your, oh gosh, this is the best. This is so, God, I can't believe so Kobe, hang on, Kobe. So Kobe calls it Goat Mountain. Who's on his Goat Mountain? I don't know if you guys, when, Kobe passed away, I don't know when people are going to listen to this, but he had his Goat Mountain. So he went and found Magic. He went and found the owners. He went and found all the people around him. Those are on his Goat Mountain. And that's who he learned to get to where he was today. But Kobe wasn't Jordan. He was a different dude. And now it's even more amazing following who he was as a person and why he was so great. But what did he do? He got around great people.
Right.
And they brought him up. And then he worked his ass off. He outworked everybody. And he didn't brag. He bragged about it, but no one really knew about it. At least I didn't know as much as I know now, because he was a badass. He was so amazing. But your Goat Mountain is important. Like, who is it? Who's on your team, right?
So that's a long-winded version of the answer to, how
The
important
mindset.
it is to your success. But, I
Yeah.
like the answer, man. I appreciate you sharing that. Are
Yeah.
you a reader by chance? Do you read a lot of books? What are you reading now, if you are?
So, where is it? I'll tell you right now. I'm reading, almost finished with it. Horrible memory. Hang on. Um, oh God, where is it? I'm reading Invest in Debt. How to the how-to book on buying paper for cash flow by what's his name? Jim Napier, I think his name
Okay.
is. So it's
Okay.
a super small book. It's super tiny, but it like some of those things though make so much sense, and it goes back to the cash flow. Like this guy doesn't own anything. He rents everything, and if he owns this guy, I mean, he's the old. Remember Jack Miller and all those guys?
Yeah.
We can't even understand how we don't even understand that when they don't speak the same language. It's weird. It's like a foreign language to me. But he'll buy a Cadillac and then he'll go rent it out to people that want a Cadillac for the weekend. So he's always leveraging everything he does and cash flowing everything he does. So that's kind of cool. So that's what I'm reading.
I like it. Are you trying to, obviously there's the creative finance side of things. There's, trying to learn how to be better at solving people's problems, but is there something specific you're trying to learn right now? Specific?
Yeah. So social media, that's
Okay.
kind of my thing. So 2020, I'm picking, I want to say I'll say two platforms, right? So Instagram. So Eric ERIC Sage is my Instagram. And why I'm doing that is I want people to know kind of who I am as a person. I have a podcast. I have a podcast. It's Sage Flipping Secrets. Is our podcast. But I kind of put it on idle, right? So I appreciate you being consistent with what you're doing, because what you're sharing to the world with the podcast you're doing are phenomenal. And so I'm trying to get back with that. So I guess it'd be three platforms: my podcast, my Instagram, and then YouTube. And what I'm doing is I just want people to know who I am as a person. And I believe everybody should do that. And because I know who I'm talking to, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm not talking to all my competitors. I'm talking to people that need me to help them solve some problems. And it could be to get their money out and earn a great return. It could be to help somebody help them sell it or get rid of a distressed asset. So that's why I'm doing it. And so I have some family stuff in there. I just posted something on my Instagram on a partial mortgage, on a partial note, which was awesome. And so I'm sharing a lot of stuff like that on what I'm up to, because I think people need to see it. And as being 47 years old, I think there's a limiting belief on why you should be doing that and having your face out there and stuff like that. So that's kind of what I'm working on. So hopefully in the next few months, I'll figure it out and get better at it.
Well, I mean, you're just the process. And I think this is a good tip for all the listeners out there listening to this. Just go do it. Start doing it. Stop trying to figure it out perfectly first. Go do it, take the steps, get better over time. And eventually you'll get to wherever you want to go, but you have to start today. So that's really important.
Yeah. The one I will tell you real quick, sorry, is what I've learned in the last couple of days is, I love the education side of this stuff. But what I wasn't doing was, if I bought a course or I bought a book, I wasn't scheduling the learning time in my daily activities. And so that's something that I'm going to really start doing. And then I'm going to start bringing people with me through Zoom calls and different things. So I don't know if I'm going to charge for it or not, but I want to bring them with me. So we all finish together, and then we come out the other side learning a crap load of things. And you have all this energy, the positive energy coming through our system that will pop out the other side with some positive results. So that's something else I'm doing.
I love it. Do you have a superpower? What is your superpower?
I would say my superpower is talking to people and really caring about. I really like solving problems and caring about the people that I'm with, and I've been fortunate enough to make money, and so money's not my number one, driving factor. My number one driving factor is helping people solve problems and create opportunities. So I'd say that would be my superpower.
So it's really not talking to people then. What I heard you say is that you like listening to people, because, one of my first mentors told me this a long time ago, and it stuck, is that you have two ears and one mouth. You should always use them accordingly. right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the fact that you've been able to learn how to listen to people to then turn around and be able to solve their problems is magical. It's been magical by making this trifecta win-win across the board. Plus, it's created a life for you that's been phenomenal, a life for the people that you're, helping solve the problem, and the people that you're putting into households and whatever other problems you're solving for. So, hats off to you on that. Last question for you, Eric, is where can the listeners reach you? Somebody wants to get more involved with Eric Sage, wants to learn about whatever. Where can they find you other than your Instagram? I guess you said you're trying to push that, so maybe we direct them right there.
Yeah, so you can go to my Instagram. So my Instagram is Eric J Sage. So you can do
Okay.
that. You can also go to my you know what I'm pulling up my podcast because I want to make sure that that I said that right. I'm pretty sure I did. Yeah, so it's Sage Flipping Secrets. You go in the podcast and put Eric Sage in there, you'll find that out. There'll be other podcasts that I've been on. And then also my email is eric@ericbuyshomes.com. So what I want you guys to do is I wrote a book. My wife and I wrote a book called the $4.7 trillion secret. Okay. So if you want that, I'll give it to you. And I've been on different podcasts. I swear to God, I get 3 or 4 requests a day now, like just from random podcasts I've been on. And I'm not on a ton of podcasts, but I'm on some. And so put in the subject line, $4.7 trillion secret, and just ask me for the book, and I'll it's a digital copy, and I'll just send it to you. And
Awesome.
so that's eric@ericbuyshomes.com, $4.7 trillion secret.
Let's make sure it's not Eric Buys Houses.
No.
It's ericbuyshomes.com.
That's right. That's right.
Got to make sure to put that out there. And you know what? We're going to add this into the show notes so that if somebody goes to the website or they find something on YouTube or whatever, they'll have access directly to that link to your website, or to your email address rather, so that, hopefully you can get some more people to discover your secret.
Yeah. Perfect.
Other than that, man, I really appreciate you being here today. We covered a lot of really good stuff. What you've been able to accomplish in the last 16 years, how you're now making the trifecta of a win for, everybody involved in a transaction, and the kind of life it's been able to provide you is super exciting. And I'm pumped that you were able to be on the show and talk about that with us today. And man, I look forward to keeping in touch. I know you and I are gonna probably do some pretty big stuff here in the near future. So I'm excited.
Yeah, awesome. Scott, man, thanks a lot. Thanks for having this podcast. Keep it up. Don't stop. I know you're helping a lot of people. So thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Talk to you soon. Thanks a lot.
All right.
See you.